Turn your camera off when you get a chance, Paul.
Hang on there, guys. Let's do this again. Let's try this one. Are we up? There we are. We're up. Let's try again.
Hey!
Oh,
Hey,
hey,
there it is.
almost right again. Almost right this time.
Almost. Got everything I need.
Excellent.
Almost.
Well, hello, everybody.
Hello.
How is everybody? Anyway, welcome to our Sunday night offering of Astronomy Outreach for January the 28th. Wow.
Hey.
Hey, the Sunday Night Astronomy Show. Now, hey!
Go. Hey!
Hey.
My name is Chris Carr, and I'm the creator of the social media channels known as Astronomy by the Bay. I'm also an amateur astronomer and a member of the Royal Astronomical Society of Canada.
Yeah.
Hey!
Hey. Hey. Because that's an appropriate
Yeah, there you go.
family-friendly show.
Where's your hat, Mike?
Listen, I got hair.
Okay.
Yeah. What's up with that?
End of the story.
Good point. Very pleased to welcome back our two regular co-hosts this evening, Mr. Paul Owen from the Moon Shadow Observatory in beautiful Hampton, New Brunswick. Paul, good evening.
Hello.
And my other co-host this evening, Mr. Mike Powell from the PFO Observatory here in St. John. Good evening, Mike.
Hello.
Hello.
Well, we'd like to welcome all of you out there tonight and all of you who are joining us through the local Rogers TV network as well. Thank you for your support, Rogers. Also, now on tonight's episode of the Sunday Night Astronomy Show, we are stepping back a little bit in our new format, and we're reaching out to those who are beginners in the hobby, specifically those who may have purchased a new scope for Christmas or are considering purchasing one soon. Learning how to get the most out of your gear can sometimes be frustrating, of course, like any hobby, I guess. So tonight we're going to focus on some of the answers to some of the questions that you've been asking, more basic questions that we receive, and offer a few of our top tips for new telescope owners. There.
Yeah.
Also tonight, Vinyl Bud's going to return with another fine binocular target of the week. Paul presents another interesting Rosanna's Fun Fact episode. And I will be offering a celestial object to watch this week. Actually, it's going to be one we can watch, all of us can watch without having to have any equipment. And since we didn't get the chance to show pictures last week, for 200th episode, or the week before when Alan was on the show. I have pictures from 3 weeks ago that we'll be sharing tonight, finally. So if it's a big moon or a small moon, then that's because it was taken 3 weeks ago. Anyway, we're going to share those submissions tonight as well. So sit back, grab your favorite beverage, and enjoy the show with us. And as always, if you have any questions, please let us know. Just post them here. So let's get started, guys, with a few top tips for beginners for telescopes. And there are probably a lot of people who have purchased some stuff. I was contacted by quite a number of people actually over the holidays on what to buy. There was the Costco scope that was out this year. That became a pretty popular one. It was on for, I think, $199. And it was a pretty decent scope, I think. It was an Explorer Scientific, I believe. Refractor, 102. So it's usually one that they put out every year, right around Christmas time. They had a pallet of them. I know that I sent somebody out to take a look, and I think the pallet was gone, or they hid it like they normally do at Costco. They hide it in some place. So I got to go looking around the store to find stuff. You never find something in the same spot. That's
right.
It's on purpose, right? They move stuff so that anyway.
Well, you know what that's for, don't you? That's when they get those scopes home and they can't figure them out, and they go back to the store and they say, "What are you talking about? We don't have
We never
scopes."
sold that. We never sold that.
Yeah, those are George Borman grills. What are you talking about?
Could be that. Anyway, we're going to take a look at a little bit of stuff there for people to talk about. So I think we're going to start off with Mike. Mike's going to start us with finders.
Oh, yeah. I forgot all about that.
Oh, you're starting first, Mike. We agree to.
We just talked about it 3 minutes ago when I had that string tied around my finger and forgot about it.
Can you find her the time?
Yeah. So actually, it's kind of funny when we've had telescope clinics, or even if we're over at the beach and somebody new brings their telescope over, every scope that you buy has something like this, maybe smaller, maybe bigger, but a finder scope of some sort, and or something like this, a red dot finder. And they go, okay, I understand it's got a red dot finder or a scope, but when I stick it on the scope and I look through it, it doesn't line up with the telescope and I can't find anything. And my first question to them is, did you calibrate it with the scope? And then you get the deer in the headlight look. Did I what? And I said, you have to calibrate the finder scope or the red dot finder with your main telescope, or it's not going to work. And they said, well, how do I do that? And I'll tell you, it's the simplest thing in the world. And you have to do it pretty much every time if you're, removing the red dot finder or removing the finder scope from your scope to pack it up and then taking it out and putting it back on the next time you set up. I can guarantee you the red dot will not be in the exact same spot as it was last time. So you really have to find a way to calibrate it. You say, how do I do that? I'm just going to spin the light around here. Yeah, my face will look a little brighter. And I'm going to slide this way a bit, and I'm going to bring in a scope. So the scopes all have a spot on the side where if the red dot finder could be permanently mounted, but
could you make Mike's screen large?
oh,
Hang on. Yep.
make me large, make me bigger.
There you go.
All right. Oops, that's off. Get a little more light on here. Ding, 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 ding. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to take your red dot finder or your finder scope and you're going to mount it on your telescope. Simple as that. You're now at the beach and you're setting it all up. You go, great. I'm ready to look. And wherever I look through here is going to be in here. Wrong answer. What you have to do once you stick it on the side and make sure it's on there nice and solid, not going to fall off, is you're going to look through your telescope first and you're going to point it at a telephone pole or a tree or a terrestrial object that's relatively close, but still far enough away that you can focus it in your telescope and put it in the center of the eyepiece. Once you've got it in the center of the eyepiece, and you're doing this while it's still light, because it's a lot easier to do during the daytime or just before sun sets. Once you got it centered in the eyepiece, all of these finder scopes have some kind of adjustment on them. There's either 2 screws, 6 screws, set screws of some sort, but they all have an adjustment for up and down, left and right, basically. And what you're going to do, knowing that the top of that tree or the top of that telephone pole is now centered in your eyepiece, all you're going to do is look through the finder scope and move these knobs, turn them either way, right or left or right, move that around. They all have a crosshair in the finder scope. You will put the top of that telephone pole of the tree in the center of those crosshairs. And now, wherever you point your scope and look through the finder, your object will end up in the eyepiece. That's simple enough. If you have a red dot finder, it's kind of the same thing. You put your red dot finder on. Now, I mean, there's various types of red dot finders. This one's a little more elaborate than most, but it's still basically just a red dot finder. It'll put a red dot on the screen when you look at it. And again, it may not be set up exact, so you point that at a terrestrial target. Again, maybe the top of a telephone pole or a tree. And then you look through the red dot and you'll find the red dot is either off a little bit, a little too high, a little too low, because, you know, you're removing this on and off of your scope. There's adjustment screws on the side and on the top. And you just slowly adjust those and watch that red dot and line it back up to the top of that terrestrial object that you got your scope set on. And then for the rest of the night, whatever object you put the red dot on, when you look in the eyepiece, it's going to be dead center. That's all there is to it. You're calibrating the red dot finder or the finder scope to your main optical tube. Now, I mean, there are other systems that are a little more elaborate. Here's another one here. It's got 6 adjustments on it instead of 3. But you do the same thing. You line it up, you point it at the object, and you can leave the rear ones tight and move the front ones. If you don't get enough movement, then you can move the rear ones until you get it centered in the crosshair. And guess what? Now it's pointed at the same thing that your scope is pointed at. And every time you look in the finder and point it at something that you want to see, when you look in the scope, that's going to be dead center. That's all there is to it. It's no different, even with a Telrad. You put your Telrad on and you adjust it again on a terrestrial object, and it's centered in the eyepiece, centered on the red dot. And now all you're going to do is point the red dot or your finder scope at your target, and it'll be dead center of the eyepiece every single time. And that's all there is to that. It's simple, quick, and easy. No different than learning collimation on a reflector telescope. You got to basically collimate your finder to the main scope. Simple, easy.
So, Mike, question: what is there a preferred eyepiece to use when you're doing that?
Well, Chris is going to talk about eyepieces, but what you want to do is use your widest field eyepiece. And I'm sure when Chris talks about, excuse me, eyepieces, he's going to explain what we mean by your widest field eyepiece. It's just you want to have the biggest field of view you can get, right? If you choose, like anything else, once you get it centered in one, you can drop a smaller or a higher power eyepiece in, and then you can readjust for that if you want to get that close and that technical. But usually when you're using a finder scope or a red dot, as long as you're fairly close, it'll be in your field of view. You know, average people, 25 millimeter. Some people, I use a 40, right? Because I love that wide field. I set everything up on a 40. And even if I drop a 10 in afterwards, I'm already on the object, and it pretty much puts me there every time. So that's all. It's a simple thing to do, but a lot of people think that as soon as they put that red dot on there, they're going to have it centered on the target in the scope. And no, it doesn't happen that way. You have to calibrate it first, and then, yeah, everywhere you point it, it'll be bang on. Simple as that.
Rick, somebody mentioned that sometimes it's easier to do in the daylight.
Yeah, it's always easier to do. I do it before the sun sets. Like we get over to the beach, we know the sun's going to set in an hour. I flip it around to a tree across the other side of the, you know, over by the highway, or a building over there, or a light or something, and say, okay, and then set my red dot to that after to the same spot, and you're good to go for the rest of the night. It's a lot easier to do it on an object than it is on a star, because all stars look the same in the eyepiece. They're dots. So if that answers one question on when you get a scope, you get a red dot finder or finder scope, that's why initially it probably won't be on the same target at the same time until you calibrate it and put it there. And it's a simple thing to do first. So
Awesome.
Perfect.
Right on the ball, Mike.
quick and easy.
Okay.
Reduce me, baby.
There. There you go. We're back. Okay. Yeah. So I mean, that's the key right there. It's one thing that people just need to get in their head, and that simple little thing will take away so much frustration for you.
But yeah,
Um,
no
Yeah.
question.
Yeah, looking through like this to try to make next time you're out, you know the moon's up. And if you don't know where the moon is, just make a fist and punch a hole through the center of it and try to find the moon this way. It's
Yeah.
almost impossible. It's almost impossible to find the moon just looking through your fist. But it's just because that's that very narrow field of view. So that's exactly it. And that's why we were going to talk about eyepieces next, I guess, because talking a little bit about field of view and what the differences in different eyepieces. I'm going to start, and I did grab a few notes, so I might be looking down a little bit to refer to just a couple of points. But one point that I saw on the site was that the importance of eyepieces to your telescope can take an awful long time to realize. When you look through a good eyepiece for the first time, you realize what you've been observing for all those years could have looked much clearer. True enough, right? Because we've all been there, we've used the really cheap eyepieces and gotten to some better quality ones than these ones that had the big porthole window. Eyepiece works by taking the light that's captured and focused by your telescope and magnifying that image that is seen by your eye. And the eyepiece needs to do this effectively if you're to get a really good view of that celestial object. Now, as light passes through the lens in your eyepiece, a little bit of light is taken away. And to minimize this loss of light, manufacturers coat the lenses with a substance like magnesium or calcium fluoride. So that's how eyepieces work. And when we're talking about eyepieces, here's a 40mm celestron. This one I use quite often for my outreach and for live feeds. But that's a 40mm. So if your telescope is a 1000mm telescope and you're using a 40mm eyepiece, you take the focal length of your telescope, divide it by your eyepiece size, and that gives you the magnification. So in this case, if you had a 1000mm focal length and you're using a 40mm eyepiece, then your magnification is going to be 25 times magnification. So that's how we get magnification. We change the eyepiece size, and that gives us the difference in magnification. Now, there's different types of eyepieces. There are colossals, which are these ones. These are colossals. They have a wide field of view, about 52 degrees field of view.
Chris, could you make your screen larger, Chris?
I can. I think I can. I don't know if I'm the speaker.
Like that little train. I think I can. I think I can.
There. Yeah, that's you guys, and I don't know if I can. I'm not popping up as a big screen.
Okay, so long as we don't talk, you'll be the guy.
Right. I'll flip it back. Yeah, I don't think it won't allow me to be, won't allow me to pick myself. Cool. Oh, okay. I'm gonna go back to the gallery. Oh, I guess I am there. Hang on. Yep, I am seeing myself on YouTube as larger. We're still on speaker view. 1 sec. Sorry, folks.
Yeah, you had it, Chris. Yeah, you're good.
Okay, there we go. Okay, so colossals are wide field of view, about 52 degrees. They're good for planetary and deep sky views. You'll hear the term as well when you talk about eyepieces as a term called eye relief. That's how far your eye must be away from the eyepiece in order to see the entire field of view. So that'll be measured in millimeters. Now there's colossals. There's also radiant eyepieces. That's another type of eyepiece now. They're a newer design, with the best part being much larger eye relief. So people with glasses like me, they could hold their eye back. They would be more comfortable with people with glasses. And then you've got the Naglers, which have a huge field of view, usually typically an 82-degree field of view, which is quite a big span of view. That design uses 7 or 8 lenses, all coated with special chemicals to increase the amount of light to your eye. And then you have orthoscopics. Orthoscopics, Mike uses them quite often. They're a 4-element design, and they were really popular before the colossals. They have very good eye relief. Their field of view is between 40 and 45 degrees. Now, also, you're going to see lenses that say coated or fully multi-coated. Now, in this case, I've got a Celestron XL LX here, and that one is actually fully multi-coated. So on the bottom, it does say. So they'll either have a coating on them or multiple coatings on them, on the lenses, and that's to help with light transmission as well. So the other terms that you might hear a lot of is an exit pupil. That's the size of the images that comes out of the eyepiece. It should be close to the size of your dark adapted pupil, which is between 5 and 7 millimeters. And then the final one that a term of you might want to remember is the field of view. That's the figure that lets you know how much of the sky you can see through your eyepiece, and that's given in degrees. So let's take a look at a few eyepieces here. So here again is a 40 millimeter colossal, again with a 1,000 millimeter focal length. That would be 25 times magnification. If I step that same 1,000 millimeter focal length down to a 25 millimeter colossal, now we're up to a 40 millimeter magnification, or 40 times magnification, because it's 1,000 divided by 25. So the focal length of your scope divided by your eyepiece size gives you your magnification. Now, eyepieces come in 1.25 inches. Actually, they come in 0.965, which is a style that's basically gone now. They're obsolete, I'll say. You can still get them, but they're for older type telescopes and for maybe cheaper telescopes as well. They use a 0.965 diameter eyepiece. The more common ones today are the 1 inch eyepiece, or 1.25 inches, I'm sorry, or the 2 inch eyepiece. There's a 2 inch one. So, I mean, a bigger body to grab a hold of for sure. This is the 32 millimeter. This is a 32 millimeter Celestron Ultimate LX. So that's about a 68 to 72 degree field of view. So when you're going from a 40 degree or 45 degree field of view to a 72 field of view, it changes your whole perspective of what you're looking at through the eyepiece. So some people like 1.25 inch eyepieces. Some people like 2 inch eyepieces. For me, I do prefer the 2 inch eyepieces. Because I get a much wider field of view as well. When Mike was talking about wide field of views, or when you're talking about lining up your finder, you want to get the largest number eyepiece that you can. That'll give you the largest field of view. So in this case, if I was going to use my 2 inch ones, I would use my 32 millimeter eyepiece, and that would give me the biggest field of view to be able to pick out that spot that I want my finder to be on. So you don't want to get into a very narrow field of view when you're trying to line up your finder. From there, again, many different types of eyepieces, many different brand names. They can go from $20 for an eyepiece to $800 roughly for the really good ones. Hang on a second. Get myself back here. Okay. Bear with me just for a second here. There, okay. Okay. Another thing that we use a fair amount of too is something called a Barlow. And this is a Barlow, and this is what they call a shorty Barlow. What happens with that is you take an eyepiece and you set it inside that Barlow. So what that does is it doubles your amount of eyepieces. So if I had just a 20 millimeter eyepiece and I set it inside a 2 times Barlow, that eyepiece now becomes a 10 millimeter eyepiece. So if I had my same 1,000 millimeter focal length telescope divided by my 20 millimeter eyepiece, gives me 50 times magnification. If I set it inside the Barlow, when it's a 2 times Barlow like this one, then my 1,000 millimeter focal length telescope is now divided by 40 millimeter. So it's 25 times magnification. Or I'm sorry, it makes it small. Let's start over again. Here we are. 20 millimeter eyepiece, 1,000 millimeter focal length. We're at 50 times magnification. Set it inside this, it becomes a 10 millimeter eyepiece, 1,000 millimeter focal length. Now it's 100 times magnification. So it doubles the magnification. So I started up with 1 eyepiece, now I've got 2. If I have a couple of eyepieces, now I've got 4 eyepieces because I've got 1 and 1 like that, a 20 and a 40, set them in here, they become different magnifications. And so the Barlow adds to your number of eyepieces by just adding an extra lens in there. So if I want to magnify an object and I only have a 25 millimeter eyepiece, I can drop it into a Barlow and double the magnification. So that can a Barlow, if you have 5 or 6 lenses, can actually double your amount of lenses that you have. Next thing that is, I'm going to do the same thing with the 2 inch eyepiece because they are available as well, the 2 inch eyepiece. Here's a Barlow for a 2 inch eyepiece. And this is the 2 times Barlow as well. A 2-inch eyepiece would sit inside, so it does the same thing. It doubles your magnification of any eyepiece that sits inside it. Finally, I might talk about the zoom eyepieces. This is something else that a lot of people are getting familiar with now, and this is a Celestron zoom eyepiece. And it can actually change its number from 8mm up to 24mm. So if I wanted to look at the moon in a wide field of view, or the whole moon, I might want to use a 24mm. If I want to get in close, I can turn it down to 8mm, or anywhere between that range. And what that does is it increases the magnification as I'm changing the number. So they call it a zoom eyepiece, and this one goes from 8 to 24. They run around $120 or so. But in this case, I've got multiple eyepieces in just one eyepiece. So if I don't want to get into the fact of changing my eyepieces out regularly, or I just want to take a look at Saturn or Jupiter, and I want to zoom in a little bit closer without having to change my eyepieces, then I can do it just this way. Ultimately, eyepieces are a personal choice, and it's what you can afford. I kind of go middle of the road. I started out with some cheaper Palossals, which are great for outreach and great for, like I've had these ones here for close to 20 years now. So, and I mean, eyepieces, as long as you keep them inside a case or keep the caps on them, they tend to last a long time. And then I've got some mid-range ones, the Celestron XL eyepieces and the Celestron Ultima ones. They're mid-range. Their eyepiece is much more expensive than these, but I found these very comfortable. They roll very easily. They're rubber lined. They collect very little dew. And the other thing about eyepieces as well is that when you're using your eyepiece and it dews up on you, the best thing to do is take it out, replace it with another one, and put that one in your pocket. Leave it in your pocket for a few minutes. The dew will disappear, and away you go again. So they're nice that way as well. A lot of telescopes too have tripods that, like Paul has behind him there on that mount, and those are slots for eyepieces. So in his case, he has some slots for 1.25 inch and for 2-inch both. Usually that's not enough, and when you put them in there, you want to keep the caps on, you keep the dew off them. But some people will just have a case too, or again, they might just take a couple of favorite eyepieces and put them in their pockets and use them that way. So eyepieces are something that are again very specific, a personal choice, I'll say. What I've chosen for my eyepiece, I'm happy with. In other, like, there are different brand names as well. They can go from $20 to over $800 for an eyepiece if you're considering that type. But for me, for what I do for outreach and for most people, they'll just look at an average eyepiece cost wise, and always look for reviews. There are lots of reviews. YouTube is your friend really when you're looking up eyepieces or any other type of accessory. Go on there, take a look at what other people are talking about, what they recommend as eyepieces or quality wise. And you can get a lot of reviews on just that particular eyepiece if you're looking them up as well. So, I mean, you really have to have a few and try them out. And if you come in with a beginner telescope, normally you only get a couple of eyepieces, usually a 25 and a 10 maybe, or a 25 and maybe even a 5. You can double your amount of eyepieces by using a Barlow, and you can multiple eyepieces if you go to a zoom. So those are the two options for you, besides buying more eyepieces. One of the best ways too is if you have a telescope and join us at one of our events. You'll get a chance to look through different eyepieces that the astronomers have set up, and you can maybe choose one then. What is really sharp for you may not be for somebody else. But I do like the larger degree field of view as well, because it gives you a nice, it's almost like looking through a porthole of a ship. It gives you a better view of everything around you. So there's much more I can say about them than that.
Okay.
Any questions there?
There was a couple, but I think Mike answered them.
Okay.
Yeah, I tried to catch them while they were coming.
Yeah. Yeah. So the only thing I might add to that, if you don't mind, is just if you are using a Barlow and you have in mind that you want to double your eyepiece focal lengths, just make sure that the two eyepieces don't put, like when you, like, for example, if I had a 12.5 millimeter eyepiece already, if I use a Barlow on a 25, I'm just duplicating what I already have. But if I've only got a 25 millimeter and a 10, well, then I've got a 25, now I got a 12.5, I've got a 10, and I've got a 5. So just do a little bit of math and just see that when you add that Barlow in, when you're selecting eyepieces, if you're buying those at the same time, just select the eyepieces that are going to kind of give you focal lengths that you're not going to end up copying. That's all.
Right. Agreed. Okay, we're gonna go on from there to a final bud, are we?
Well, yeah, I can do that, but quickly, I just want to show something here, if I may. Everything we're talking about tonight, I'm just going to share my screen. You should be able to go to the St. John Astronomy Club website, St. John Astronomy Club.ca. You'll see it says homepage. If you scroll down from homepage, you'll see member contributions. Just click on that in the center. And of course, I got video and everything running, so it might be a little bit slower, but it will come up. And here under member contributions, you'll find everything for basic astronomy that talks about eyepieces, mounts, telescopes, and binoculars. You come down a little further. Here's finders and finder scopes and how to use them. Paul's got some wonderful material in here on telescope basics and then imaging and astrophotography equipment and so on. So all you have to do is go to our main webpage, go under member contributions when you scroll down the page, and it'll all this information is available for you, and you can actually download them. They're in PDF format. So
awesome.
Yeah,
we have a lot of information on that website. A lot.
All righty. I guess we're ready for binocular target of the week by Bino Bud.
What about?
And should be coming up here. Binocular target for the 200th episode. No, 201.
Yeah, see, we didn't get to our Bino Bud last week, and Mike had that picture all prepared. Sorry, Mike.
Yes, he did.
We're all set up for 201. No problem whatsoever. Binocular target of the week this week by Bino Bud is, what do I draw below the belt? Oh, SCA 42 or the Orion Nebula. That's what I draw below the belt. So the Orion Nebula, also known as M42, is a diffuse nebula situated in the Milky Way, being south of Orion's belt in the constellation Orion. It's one of the brightest nebula and is visible to the naked eye in dark sky or relatively dark sky. It is about 1,344 plus or minus 20 light years away from us and is the closest region of massive star formation to the Earth. So that's pretty cool. M42 Nebula is estimated to be about 24 light years across and has a mass that's 2,000 times that of our sun. So she's a big piece of gas. And that's where stars are starting to form. So it's a star birth area. How do I find it in the sky? And once again, we're clouded over. Surprise, surprise. But if it was clear and you went out at 2300 hours or 11 o'clock and pointed yourself 180 degrees due south and look up, you'll probably notice the constellation of Orion. Everybody knows what it looks like. You got the bright orange Betelgeuse up here, and you got Orion's belt. And just down below the belt, right in this area, you'll find a shiny spot or a well-lit spot. And guess what? That's the Orion Nebula. What does it kind of look like? Well, this is it here. Man, the colors and everything and the when people photograph it are phenomenal. And it is the brightest nebula, so you can actually see it naked eye when you look up in a relatively not too dark sky. 10 by 50 binoculars. This is probably more what you're going to see. You're not going to see the colors and everything, but you're definitely going to make out this nebulous area in the center, and it's spread out pretty good. So it's a beautiful object to look at in a pair of binoculars. Compared to the full moon, look at that. The gas is spread out at least the width of a full moon. So if you can find the full moon in a pair of binoculars, you come down from Orion's belt, and you're going to find the Orion Nebula in a pair of binoculars, no problem at all. Now, you ready for this one, Paul? Why did E.T. toss beef on the asteroid? To make it a little meatier. I love these painful puns. And that's the 201 I'm not gonna tag the leak by no bud.
Oh, I love it.
Uh,
I guess I don't have to ask where the beef is anymore.
where is the beef? Yeah, it makes it a little meatier.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Thanks, Mike. That's a good, easy target. And if, kind of coincidence, because my little talk about what's up is going to be on Orion as well
Well,
today.
it's funny. It's probably the most, even if you're into astrophotography, it's probably one of the most photographed objects up there because it
Yeah.
is so bright and easy to capture. Right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And it does look wonderful through binoculars.
Oh, it's amazing.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
very much so. Thanks, Mike. Okay, I'm going to carry on a little bit about what's up, and it's going to be really quick, but I'm going to share my screen here, and we're going to talk a little bit about Orion as well. And I think I'm going to share screen 3, this one. So there again, that's that familiar shape that everybody is used to, I guess. That popped up, yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about Orion. And what I want to talk about Orion is using Orion as a signpost. Talked maybe before about using Ursa Major, which is most people call the Big Dipper, using it as a signpost to find your way around, while Orion becomes our winter time constellation to help find us other objects in the sky. So let's take a look at what I mean by that. We're going to start with Orion here, and we're going to go just below Orion, down, follow the 3 stars that make up its belt down to the left, and you're going to find the brightest star in the sky right there. That's Sirius, and that's part of the constellation of Canis Major. So pretty easy to find that one. I'm going to step on. There's Jupiter. I'm not going to focus too much on Jupiter, but it is in the sky right now, right to the west of Orion. From there, we're going to move our way over, maybe follow the 3 stars in the belt, roughly follow them, and you're going to come over to a star called Procyon, which is in Canis Minor. And these stars also make up the winter triangle, or the winter circle, sorry. Okay, from there, we can go from the bottom right star in Orion, which is Rigel, straight up through Betelgeuse, and you're going to hit Gemini, the constellation Gemini, with Castor and Pollux there. Keep going. We're going to go from the bottom left-hand star now and straight up through, and we're going to hit Auriga. Constellation of Auriga with Capella is the main star. Capella is the one that has been the result of many UFO reports because of its flashing colors. And then from the 3 stars that make up the belt, we're going to go straight up and we're going to hit Aldebaran in Taurus, that big orange star there. And then straight on through that one, we can hit the Pleiades star cluster. So there we are. Just using Orion by itself, we can find ourselves a number of constellations, and all easy to pick out, all easy to find just by using that process. And as well, here's Capella, the Pleiades, Aldebaran, Rigel, the Orion Nebula that Mike just talked about right in here, Sirius, Procyon, Pollux, Castor, all kinds of things here to take a look at with just binoculars. So you can enjoy a lot of the sky, wintertime sky, and enjoy Orion right now as long as we can. And if you'd like to see the actual constellation shapes, then there they are. Or the
I
legends.
believe you got them all in there too, Chris. That's the winter circle.
There it is. That's the winter circle too, yes. So Rigel, Sirius, Procyon, Castor Pollux, up to Capella, and Aldebaran, I guess, and back down, right? So
yeah,
that's our winter circle right there. There. So that's something to enjoy. Easy to find, again, like Mike said, and easy to use it as a signpost to find other things. If you're looking for other things as well, you can always go to Lisa's Lookup, Astronomy and More. You can find her on Facebook, Instagram, Mastodon, and Twitter. Ruby Moonbeams, that's Lisa. Lisa, and if you look up here, you'll see that she has the events, the dates, peak times, and the seeing tools, naked eye, binoculars, or a telescope. You can go to her page and download that picture, that chart, and just keep it handy. And of course, we have our St. John Astronomy Club RASC calendar that gets put out every month. It's about 6 weeks here. Kurt Mason puts this out for us, puts together a great job. All of the events that are taking place throughout the month and the next 6 weeks actually are all listed here, the major events. So we can find that at sjaastronomy.ca for download. And that's it for me. Okay. We're gonna go from there to, Paul's gonna give us a talk.
Yeah.
On
Just a little one, an important one, but a little one. So what my talk's gonna be about is just about balancing that telescope that you just bought Christmas time. Or one that's been sitting in the closet because you don't know what to do with it. And I'm gonna talk specifically on German equatorial mounts because that's the one that people buy because it looks the coolest when you see them in the stores and stuff. So they think because it's cool looking with all that mechanism on it, it's got to be the one for me. And if you've never done this before, that may not be the right thing. But I'm going to demystify some of those things that that maybe you're shaking your head about. Now, I'm just going to read a little thing from the Starizona webpage. Starizona is a company down in California, and they manufacture all the hyperstar things. They're the ones that actually put a telescope on the ISS when Chris Hadfield was up there. So these guys are pretty cool dudes, and they know a lot about optics. And I'm just going to read just one short little paragraph why it's important to balance your telescope with a German equatorial mount. So it says, unlike a fork-mounted telescope, a German equatorial mount must be balanced every time you go out, whether for visual or for photography. Once you have balanced the telescope a few times, this will become and it does. Once you do it a few times, it's just you'll go off muscle memory. It's really quite simple. Proper balance causes less wear on the motor drive, and it's the number one cause, or not number one, but one of the pretty close to the number one cause for people who are starting out in astrophotography and they just can't seem to get their stars to be round and all that stuff, simply because it's not tracking properly. So an imbalanced telescope will cause tracking errors. And most tracking errors are caused by improperly balanced telescope. Learning to balance the telescope is easy, and it can be an essential technique for all applications. So that's what they say about it. Now, they also go on to say in that article that there are 2 points of axes that you're going to be balancing. You're going to be balancing in the telescope side, and then you're going to be balancing the right ascension which is the telescope side, and then there's just the counterweight side. You always balance the telescope side first, or this one. So if I have a German equatorial mount, like I do right here. So there are 2 axes we're going to be balancing with this. So you can see it. This one up here is the declination one. Can you make, okay, yeah, this is the declination one. So this is the one that your telescope sits on. The reason that you do this one first is once this one is balanced, when you go ahead and do the counterweight side on your mount, then when you balance that, when that's balanced, you're not going to have any improper balancing. Because if this isn't balanced when you do this first and you don't get this right, then what's going to happen, there's going to be certain positions your telescope's going to be in, and it's actually going to be slightly out of balance. So by balancing it up here first, centers the telescope and the center of gravity right to the mount itself, and then you do your counterweight 1 second. So when you have your mount, there are 2 things you have to do. You have to put on your telescope, and you have to put on your counterweight. And then sometimes when you get your telescope, you're looking at it and go, well, I know I got a counterweight, but where's my bar? So sometimes when you look for it in the box and it's not there, chances are it might be right inside there. So always just loosen off that little, it might be a wheel, it might be the thumb or a lever like this, but turn that off so you can see that. I'll pull back so you can see that thing. There we go. Okay, so this is your telescope side, this is your counterweight side. When you take off your, what do I do with it? Here it is. On the bottom of your counterweight for the weights, there's this little tiny, I don't know, what's it called, a bolt in some cases. This one's fairly wide. What this is for, this is actually a safety so that when you're playing with the counterweights, and at night, if you haven't cranked that counterweight nice and tight, and as the cold kind of gets into your scope, because generally you'll set up sometimes in a warm afternoon, and then it gets really cold at night, and that change in temperature can loosen that bolt, and that counterweight can slide right down and hit you on the toe. If that happens, you're not going to be a happy camper. So that's what this is for. This is a safety catch, if you will, for your counterweight. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to put our counterweight on first. So it's quite simple. So you take off your toe saver, which is what this is called. And just set that aside for now. And then you're going to grab your counterweight. Now your counterweight size may vary. Sometimes when you buy a mount, it comes with 2 counterweights. Sometimes it comes with 1. Most of the times it comes with 2, but sometimes it'll come with 1. So you can buy extra counterweights. So the counterweight is just basically a big piece of, I don't know, steel, I guess, that they paint up and make it look pretty. And basically you're going to slide that on the shaft. I usually put it about halfway first, just to kind of, because I don't know what my pay bill is going to be in the telescope side yet. Now, the reason I'm putting this on first instead of my telescope is if I put my telescope on first and I don't tighten up that clutch so that the thing doesn't slip, that could just go slide right down into the leg of my mount, and I could damage my telescope, and I don't want to do that. So always put the counterweight on first, and then no matter what, even if I let that clutch go, all that's going to happen is you're just going to roll like that. It'll never go all the way top heavy. It won't go top down to bottom. It'll always just go bottom and stay bottom. So that's the first one that you put on. Once you get your counterweight on, put your toe saver back on again. Just so that now, because you are going to be adjusting this eventually. Once you get this on, got that on, you don't have to balance anything yet. You're just going to let that go and put it in the center position. And just latch that down. Now on my particular telescope, that's the latch there for my right ascension, which is basically the weight side, if you will. And on the top is where I'm going to be able to put my telescope. So I'm just going to put a small telescope on this one because just for demonstration purposes, whether it's a large telescope or a small telescope, the principles will apply. So the next thing I'm going to do is take my telescope. Now, I've already got my camera on this one. And sometimes when you put it on, you may not have your eyepiece on and all that. Before you balance this on top, make sure you have all the weight you're going to have on your telescope on it. Because if you go ahead and balance it and then you start putting different pieces and components on or adding components, you're changing your weight. So if you're going to do that, make sure you load up your telescope prior, if you can pick it up, or you can load it up while it's on there. But don't try to balance it until you have it on there. So this telescope, first of all, my particular scope on this one uses what they call a Vixen mount. And that's just this bar right here. It's relatively thin. It's about 1.5 inches thick. Your telescope may be a little wider, and what they would call a Losmandy. So that's the one that I have on here. That just slides right into the top of the telescope. So you just take that bar and slide that in. Once you have it in position, there's 2 screws. I'll show you on the other side once I lock it, what I'm locking it with. There we go. So on the other side, there's these 2 screws. Those 2 screws are what's going to hold the telescope onto the mount. This is separate from the locking clutch. So once I've got that in place, what I want to do is just loosen the clutch, keep my hand on the telescope, and just slowly let it kind of fall. As you can see here, it's going to fall without me touching it. That means that this is front heavy. So what I have to do is shift the weight back so that when I let this go, it stays in place. So all I'm going to do is lock my clutch again. And I'm just going to slide my telescope backwards a bit. And this is the trial and error thing. You'll get this. Once you start using your mount and setting up your telescope, which will probably be the same one each time, you'll know where it sits, or you can mark it if you want to. So I just moved that back, and look at that. Okay, that telescope was not moving no matter where I put it. So that tells me now that my declination is actually is all lined up and balanced. So that's good. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to lock that clutch. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to balance the weight side of the telescope. And the whole point of this is if you look at how the telescope was designed, there's actually a pivot point right here. This pivot point is where the telescope basically pivots back and forth. So what we need to do is have the same amount of weight on this side as we do on this side, so that as this pivots, I can just let it go and it'll sit there. Let's put this a little heavy on the weight side just to show you what happens. If I've got too much counterweight down this end of the shaft going away from my telescope, Watch what happens if I let it go. It just falls, right? Obviously, this is way, way too heavy on the counterweight side. So I need to push that counterweight back. So you can take your telescope, put it horizontal like this, lock the clutch so it doesn't move, and then take your counterweight and slide it up. Now in this case, that was really heavy, so I'm going to put it up about 3/4 of the way. I'm going to let it go again. Perhaps, there we go. And now you can see that it's just a little bit of the balance. You can see if I put it there, it won't go, but if I just give it a little push, it's still a little heavy on the bottom. So I just got to simply slip that up the shaft just a tiny little bit more, not much, just a little, just a nuggle. Okay, release that clutch again. There we go. And it looks like it's staying where it wants to. Now, a true balanced telescope will stay where it wants to this way. I can see a little bit of movement there. Not much, I won't worry about it. But when I release the declination clutch, and I put my telescope in any shape, angle I want to, it should not move at all. No matter where I put it, it should stay perfectly state. So when it's balanced like that, then you know that there are the minimal amount of strain on your motors, so that when your telescope is up and running, it should track the sky the way that it should track the sky. If you're imaging, you're going to get the best possible tracking from your mount that you possibly can. So that's pretty much how you balance a German equatorial telescope and the reasons for it. So that's it.
Great explanation, Paul.
Yeah, well done.
Well done. Yep.
All right.
Awesome. Any questions out there? Well, Renat says, great explanation, Paul, making it look simple. There you go. That's what it's all about, making it look simple. Doesn't mean it is, but it makes it look that way. Anyway. Well done. Okay, so that's a few points that we have for beginners. I guess, you know, as Mike mentioned, the finder is the key point. You're not going to see anything if your finder is not lined up with your eyepiece. And that's a very basic one to get under control right off the top. Eyepieces I talked about, different types, different styles. It is a personal preference, I find. You may prefer 1.25" over 2" or it depends on the environment too, I guess sometimes. Paul, great talk on balancing there, because that applies to even the EQ ones, the small, the hardware store type mounts that we get, the equatorial ones that people have trouble balancing as well. So, okay, let's move on then from there to we got a Rosanna, I think, up next. Oh, yeah, we do. You able to do Rosanna yet, Paul? Or?
There we go. I'm just getting it ready now.
Talk amongst yourselves, you guys.
Okay, no, I'm pretty much ready. I just got to get the notes up, and then we'll be all set.
How would you level the scope with no level spots on the mount? Well, by level. By level.
If you level the tripod first with a level, or even on your phone with a bubble level on your phone, once you get the tripod level, then once you put the mount on, you're level.
Yeah, Mike's just trying to level with you.
Yeah.
What can I say?
That's terrible.
Yeah,
You'll notice anybody that's got a lot of equipment on their mounts. You'll notice on the optical tube, the Vixen bars or the other Los Bandy bars are long. That's so you can adjust that optical tube forward and back, no matter how much extra weight you're adding to it. You may put reducers on and all this other stuff, and find you have to shove that optical tube even further ahead or slide it further back, whichever way you go. So yeah, a lot of these store-bought or Costco ones only have little short Vixen mounts on them. You see a lot of people will trade those out for the longer Vixen dovetails or the longer Los Bandy dovetails. So
yeah, another thing I forgot to mention too is if for observational astronomy, if you're using a 1 1/4" eyepiece, which Chris mentioned earlier about the different sizes, and then you decide to take, because a lot of these diagonals that you use will allow you to take a 2" eyepiece out and put a 1.25-inch eyepiece in. The thing, wow, that's cool. The thing that you have to keep in mind is this is considerably lighter in weight than the 2-inch is. So when you're swapping out a 1.25-inch for a 2-inch, and if there's an extreme amount of weight difference in it, then you might want to consider balancing the declination again on that. Actually, both axes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, it's for the most part, if it's for observation, I wouldn't worry a whole lot about it, but it will make a difference in how it tracks.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's what I forgot to mention. So there you go.
Awesome. Thank you,
All
Paul.
right, Rosanna.
Rosanna,
All right, let me just share my screen. Share my screen.
good to share your sound.
Yep, we're good there. I just gotta find share screen. Like I haven't done this before. All right, and this is
There we go.
Rosanna's Fun Fact.
Hey, welcome back, Rosanna. Good to see you again. Well, actually, we saw her last week on the show, and it was good to hear her. We didn't see her yet. She's still that elusive fellow behind the fence. What's his name? Wilson. Oh, okay. So let's start. Rosanna writes, "Hi, Paul. Did your mom ever make goulash when you were a child? Although technically there are only 2 types of goulash, I think the title goulash was morphed into any dish constructed of whatever is left in the fridge that doesn't have something green or blue growing on it. Sometimes it's a wonderful, and sometimes it's just weird. So today's fun fact will be a little bit like a cosmic goulash." Let me see if I press the right buttons to make it work. Hold on. I'm showing you a watch. That's not goulash. Just give me 1 second here.
We're watching closely.
There we go. Now we're ready. Okay, so today's fun fact will be like that. So first off, this amazing picture from NASA's Juno spacecraft taken in October 2023 of Jupiter's moon, Io. We were thinking that's our moon. I don't think so. A volcanic plume is just visible, standing out from the darkness just below the terminator. So it will be down in here. And the line that divides the difference between day and night is the terminator. On the left side of the image, the plume appears to be coming from the volcano Prometheus. Io is a hot destination, literally. The moon's average surface temperature is a frigid -130 degrees Celsius. Certainly not balmy, but it is lava flows that reach temperatures of up to 1,340 degrees Celsius. So how can this be? Well, think of Earth. Our surface temperature is too cool for lava to flow, except it does, and it does regularly. Just 3 weeks ago, we were all watching this, and then when we saw this, and I'm not going to play it because it'll go into YouTube and stuff, but we saw some lava flows and lava spills. It takes time for lava to cool, not unlike candle wax that you spill on the table. I asked Google about Io's cool phenomenon of raging lava flows on a bitterly cool surface and what the lava was made of, and AI bot responded with a statement that lava was made of sulfur and sulfur dioxide, which have lower melting points than silicate-based lavas found on Earth. And now this is unproven. I checked with NASA, which stated there are theories about what Io's lava is very long lasting, is made up of, and further investigation down the lava trail revealed that sulfur is an unusual substance in that it can remain molten down to 120 degrees Celsius, leading to very long lasting lava flows. But the lava on Io must consist of something else. So I requested information about different types of lava flows, preferably in chart form. This is one of Google's responses, too cute not to use. So for further explanation, I turned to my brother Rupert, an allegedly human scientist who suggested for something, for example, lava, to cool, it has to get rid of its energy, either by radiating it, by transmitting it to another medium, or by boiling it off, or boiling off the material, which floats away with the energy. Io has no or minimal atmosphere, so there's no air cooling on the lava on its surface. It has it has to either radiate, transfer the heat to the surface underneath the lava, or boil off the material. So although it is colder than Earth, it might actually be more difficult to cool the lava. Another way of thinking of this is that vacuum is an excellent insulator. Now, I'm not the only one curious about Io's volcanoes. This headline is from the New York Times. Recent volcanic activity on Io is confusing and exciting scientists. I shall remain confused and excited. Another interesting note about AI bots, Space Weather has made the statement and continues to state that it is an AI-free zone. This is an AI-free zone. Let me show you that. Let me make that bigger so you can see it. Yeah, so this is an AI-free zone. Text created by GPT and other larger language modules is spreading rapidly across the internet. It's well-written article, frequently inaccurate. If you find a mistake on spaceweather.com, rest assured it was made by a real human being. Mistakes happen, human and otherwise. And on a Space Weather on Friday, this is, wow, appeared. So what is this? Well, of course, I think we all know what that is, don't we? So polar stratospheric clouds over Iceland. Last month, a number of unlikely things happened in the polar stratosphere. First, air temperatures plunged to a 40-year record low for the month of December. Within that staggeringly frigid minus 89 degrees Celsius air mass, polar stratospheric clouds, PSCs, materialized. The entire polar vortex tipped, wafting that the clouds over Iceland's glacier lagoon, where Bjorn Julius Crimson photographed them on December 21st during a geomagnetic storm. Yes, the polar vortex wobbled. That may be the next week fun fact we're going to see, she says. And for a little excitement, NASA is inviting the public to send their names aboard the Artemis lunar rover. The agency's first robotic lunar rover, Viper, short for Volatiles Investigating Polar Exploration Rover, will explore the lunar South Pole starting in 2024. As part of the Send Your Name with Viper campaign, NASA will accept names until March 15th to be attached to the rover. Participants can also create and download a virtual boarding pass to the Viper mission featuring their name to commemorate the experience. I've got my boarding pass. Be sure to get yours. And there's Rosanna's boarding. She's going. And that's this week's
Rosanna's Fun Fact.
Yay!
Oh, lots of stuff. Thank you, Rosanna. Wow, that's a lot to unpack.
The Juno spacecraft is just doing an amazing job out there with the moons now too, like what it's capturing for. I know it's been on a couple of missions with Europa as well, so some
Yeah.
amazing stuff coming back from Europa. Awesome, yeah.
Yeah, lots to look forward to, eh? And get your tickets.
Get your tickets.
I already have it.
Thank you, Rosanna, once again.
Yes, awesome.
Okay, let's get some photos in here really quickly, because we're past our time. So let's
Eh.
Okay, we're going back a couple of weeks here. So we're going to go to this one. First of all, let me get my share screen. Again, these are photos that came in a few weeks ago now, because last week was our 200th show. The week before, Mr. Alan Dyer was on with us. We didn't get a chance to share them, so we're going to go back to these ones, but of course, we always enjoy sharing them. So we're going to go with this one here from Rebecca Ingalls. Rebecca says, "Hi there, I follow your page. located on Grand Manan. Thought you might like to see this photo taken with my cell phone.
Nice.
Not bad, huh? Cell phone shot.
Nice.
You can see what's below the belt.
Yeah. Very good.
Yes, yes, that, I mean, it's so evident, isn't it?
Yeah, the skies in Grand Manan are pretty dark too. You've got some pretty
Oh,
dark.
yeah.
Thank you, Rebecca, for that. We're gonna go from there to Susan Lamb. And I don't know why we got two
Oh,
shots.
that's nice, eh?
Mm.
This shouldn't be two shots, should only be one.
Oh, it's nice, though.
Yeah, it looks nice, but it's not supposed to be two.
Supplies.
Cowboy supplies, yeah. Let's try that again. Look, it's still doing it.
Well,
You know, let me see if I can bring it up this way.
Double the pleasure.
Let's bring it up, two pictures together. This one, the one on the left actually is from Susan Lamb, a full moon pic taken to Spain. She says it took in September. Cool. And
Yeah.
on the right, I don't know why it's doing that. If you're gonna try something else, try it this way. There's by itself now.
yeah.
That one's coming from Brad Perry, right? It says just sharing a recent capture of the entire winter hexagon above Grand Lake. There it is there.
Yes, sir.
That's
Uh,
a top of the sky, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
huge field of view.
Oh, it
Oh,
is,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
It's a huge asterism. Capturing above the Grand Lake, taken from January the 8th. This is a five frame vertical panorama. Each frame is a stack of 4 2-minute exposures at f2 ISO 500. Between the gray weather and having been sick over Christmas and New Year's, it's been a couple of weeks since I'd gotten out to do any photography whatsoever. So it felt very good to finally get out and meet the stars again. I understand where you are, Brad.
Mm.
Thanks for sending that in for us. And they're gonna go from there to, these are in the wrong order. Of course. I'm gonna bring up Matthew Dupre's picture. Hopefully this is his. Here's just a second. Your hooks. Yeah, that'll be him. Okay, skip over there. This should be him, Matthew Dupre.
Oh, yes.
Hi, Christy. Here's my photo submission for the week. It's Orion and the Running Man Nebula. It's 45 minutes of total exposure taken with my Celestron 9 1/4 and Hyperstar and 2600 MC Pro. Well done.
Very well done.
Very nice. Nice job.
Man. Never gets old, does it?
No, it doesn't.
Oh,
And from there, we're going to go to his capture of M81 and M82, of course. Beautiful
yeah,
jobs.
that was nice too.
They're
Very nice.
placed right nowadays too, right above, it's almost straight up now.
Mm. It's
Yeah.
nice to see them together in an eyepiece. It's amazing.
Yeah, it is.
Matthew? Duckman Arsenault sent in these ones of his capture calm before the storm. This was Tuesday morning moon. That would have been a few Tuesdays ago now. Of course, back during the last cycle.
Nice
Nice
sliver.
color sky, eh? It's beautiful.
Crazy.
Nicely done.
That's
Thank you.
St. John? That's St. John?
Yeah, St. John Port sunrise.
Yeah, there you go. Beautiful.
Now, this one I think is Chris's next. Yeah, so Chris Benoit is captured here. I shot M42 a couple of days ago, and here's the result. Canon 450 modified on the Celestron 400mm refractor, 1 hour integration.
Yeah, you got the running man in there too.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yep, right in here. Nicely done. Thanks, Chris. I'm gonna go from there to this one with the Casper Ghost Nebula. Joey Craswell. So here are some images that Haley and I took with her C-Star telescope. Haley was quite interested in M78 and 37 star cluster and wanted to image them. Then after that, Robert and I used it to image the Running Man Nebula. Hope you like the results. And Haley helped to process this one, the M78 Casper Ghost Nebula 2. Haley's a 13-year-old astronomer that's been on our program before. Snap that one over, and here's another
Nice.
one. This is the 37 cluster.
Yep.
That's cool. Nicely done.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I like the James Webb star spikes.
Spikes.
Yeah. 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 And this one of the Running Nebula.
There you go.
Here we
Oh,
go.
that's nice. That came out nice, eh?
It did.
Beautiful
Good.
colors. Hang on.
Stands right out.
Yeah.
Very nice, yeah. And she says, and Haley found that there was a monkey in space, so she had to shoot it as well.
Oh,
There's the Monkey Head Nebula.
That's a good job, because that could be hard to get.
And with that little sea star, yeah, it's amazing what what the little scope is turning out.
The results are amazing from it.
Unbelievable. Yeah. Very well done. Thank you, Joey and Haley. And we're gonna go from there to Kathy Adams, who shot back here on January 12th. That's how old we are.
Yeah.
A nice filament there. She said, my niece said it's a filament. It's one of the lead scientists for the Canadian Hazards and Information Service of Natural Resources Canada, specializing in space weather. She and her colleague said it's a filament and super lucky timing.
That's an active day on the sun, eh?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it was going crazy.
But it's quiet. It's got quiet right now, but I'm sure it's going to pick up again.
Yeah.
This is another one for Kathy. The Flame Nebula with her sea star, 45-minute subs stacked in DSS and edited in Photoshop.
Doesn't the center of the black center look like a cat looking up, or almost a squirrel looking up?
There,
Yeah, our rabbit ears.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a Bugs Bunny nebula. What's up, Doc?
Over here, these ones are from Trudy Almond. Trudy's the Venus and the Moon, waning crescent 11%, and Antares.
There you go.
Oh, yeah.
There's Antares down there. Yeah, nicely done, Trudy.
Yeah,
Ooh.
absolutely. Good job.
She gets nice stuff there. Mercury, Venus, and Antares, and Scorpius.
She's got a great skyline, doesn't she?
There, yeah, Venus and Antares must be here. Yeah.
Hey, that's early morning with Scorpius coming up.
6:46 a.m. Yeah, nicely done. Thanks, Trudy.
Mhm.
And there it is with the drawing. Yeah, so Antares, Venus.
Yep.
I was wrong. Yeah.
For those of you who are waiting for the cold weather to go away, the summer constellations are starting to rise in the morning.
Yeah. Yeah. It's coming. Yeah, it's coming. Okay, and then finally, we got this one from Mary Ann Gillette. Oh, where's she at? There it is.
Awesome.
Hang on, did I have these ones in here too? No, Trudy had some, these ones too. Hang on a second. There we go. Let's go back. There we go. Okay, so we stopped here. And then the head-to-head diagram, she said to do this, and even there, the moon didn't appear 26 minutes before sunrise. So here we are. These ones. There it is.
There it is.
Yeah.
Boom, there it is.
Mercury, Venus, and Antares, and the moon. Wow, nice.
Yeah.
There, closer view.
Swinging crescent.
Nice and crisp.
Now we'll get to this one. Mary Ann Gillette said this one. She said, hook a night on the night sky. My grandson, who was 9 years old, watched the tube and learned to paint this picture. There you go.
Awesome.
Nicely done. 9-year-old.
Awesome.
Thanks very much for that. And if you have photos that you'd like to share, we love getting them right here. Just drop them into astronomybythebay@gmail.com, and we'd be happy to share them on our next broadcast. There.
There
There
we go.
Love the pictures.
Huh?
Love the pictures.
Oh, they're great.
Yeah. Those little sea stars are something else, aren't they?
They are. They're producing some great images.
Oh, yeah. I remember, starting out and trying to get images with, upper end scopes and stuff, and you couldn't get them that good. So
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
These you go plop, hit a button, and bang, you're getting some beautiful shots.
with your phone now, with all that technology, it's just wonderful.
Amazing what's going to happen in the next 10 years when even these things get better and better.
Yeah, it's just amazing. Technology it's happening so quickly now. Everything.
Bubble on your deck.
The only thing they haven't developed yet, and when they do, it'll be the best thing ever, is a cloud buster.
Cloud filter.
Here you go. You're ready to tell us. Okay, well, thanks everybody. So that's our show for this evening. We hope you enjoyed the program tonight. Special thanks, of course, goes out to Rosanna for her once again for another fabulous fun facts segment. Rosanna, thank you very much. Always the four musketeers. Remember to do love sharing your photos, so send them into astronomybythebay@gmail.com. We'd be happy to put them up on our next broadcast, hopefully this time. Special thanks again to our friends at Rogers for joining us this evening. So until next week, everybody, we wish you all clear skies. As we like to say, open your eyes to view the skies and keep your scopes pointed up.
Yep.
Good night, everybody. And we'll sign up with this one.